Now, Define Brush Set is a really cool feature that a lot of people don't know about, especially people who aren't painters. But this is, oh man, this one's just fun, guys. This one is worth learning. And the reason that a lot of people don't know is there's kind of a few steps that are involved with it. So if I were to just create an active region and then go to Define Brush Set, this would turn this into a brush. So if I then created a new layer and let's deselect this and just kind of brush across, you'll notice that this is a pretty terrible brush right here. Like, this isn't how we want to brush on things. Even if I went into my brush options and started messing around with things, the spacing was bigger and the size jittered and the angle jittered and I don't know, we could add scattering and I don't know, maybe I could change around the colors and, there's things I could do right here. This isn't a good brush. In order to get a good brush, what you want to make sure of is a few things. So first off, make sure that it has a pretty cool edge. So I'm going to use the Quick Select tool. I'm just going to increase the size of it, and I'm going to make sure I'm on the right layer. That was just weird what was going on right there. I'm going to decrease this, and I'm going to turn this leafy thing into a brush. Stay with me. This is worth it. I swear. This is really cool. Okay, so I want this to be a brush, and that's going to be the brush right there. There we go. So I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to paste it so it's on its own layer. So here we go. We have a layer that looks like this, and just for the sake of making everything simple, let's just make it white behind it. So there we go. We have something that's like this. Now, if we were to select this, and remember you can select a layer by holding down Command and then clicking on this, not here, but here. You can see how the icon changes. And then if I were to go to Edit Define Brush Preset, this brush also would be super duper lame. And that is because, so you can see, super duper lame. Even if we adjusted things, it would still be lame. That's because what the brush preset looks at is the difference between the black and the white. All it looks at is the black and the white. So let's desaturate it, Command-Shift-U to desaturate it. And then I'm going to go into my friend Curves, my friend and your friend, to kind of change the white-dark balance. And whatever it's black, that's where the brush will be used. And wherever it's white, that's where the brush won't be used. So I'm just kind of playing around with it. And this has kind of a cool texture right here. And where it's gray, it will be like somewhat filled in. Guys, stay with me. This is totally worth it. This is going to be really cool. All right, I'm going to go into Edit, Define Brush Preset. There we go. Now this is a sexy looking brush. If I go back here, this still doesn't look good. But let's go into some of our brush modes. We have all sorts of shape dynamics right here. You can see that we've created this new brush. If we just go right here, you can see we've created this new brush right here. And if we go into brush, I'm going to increase the spacing. So just notice how the spacing kind of makes it so now we can see the edge a little bit more. You got to play with these things a little bit. I'm going to go into shape dynamics. I'm going to jitter the size some. I'm going to angle jitter, so that rotates it on every time. I'm not going to give it scattering, but I am going to give it some color dynamics. And I'm going to make it so it goes between the foreground and the background color a little bit. And let's also transfer. Let's make it so there's an opacity. So there's an opacity jitter of fade. So and it will fade. It will fade over the course of a certain amount of time. So here we go. When I do this, I'm able to do things like this. So we just created a brush, and we're able to make this happen. I'm going to take off the fade just so we can kind of get a ridiculous thing going right here. And the potential for this is really quite phenomenal. Like, it's hard to understate especially when working with the brush and painting on things, how you can create any brush at all. People sell brush sets, and that's kind of silly to me because it's so easy to create your own brush set. And all of a sudden, that was a minute or two because I was explaining it while doing it. We have this unbelievably really cool edge. If I was making a tree and I wanted to do brushes on this, and anyway, like getting into painting in Photoshop, it can be much, much deeper. All that I wanted to show you, well, let me go through the steps again just to bore you to tears. All I wanted to show you is that in order to make your own brush, you can find a photo with something just somewhat visually interesting in it. This looks pretty cool. Copy it, paste it. So here we go. We have this thing on its own. Make sure we're going to go into, we're going to desaturate it. So let's just, here we go, desaturate it. I'm going to go into curves. I could just use auto levels here, but I just want to play with it in curves. I love curves. If I haven't made that clear by now that I love curves, great. We now have this really cool looking brush. Make sure to select it. I know this is a lot of steps, guys, but just, you can see it's a great way to be. It's a great way to be right here. And I hope this is making sense when I'm doing all of this. And let's just increase the spacing on it. Why is it not letting? Here we go. Increase the spacing, shape dynamics. We're going to make the size jitter. We're going to make the angle jitter. And there we go. Now we have another edge right there. I could do a straight line with this. There's really a lot of ways to play with it. So I really wanted to show you that that is a way right there to create your own, define your own brush preset. Let's go into defining patterns.